What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to SteveBussaGS. I'm being joined once again by my man AQ. What is going on, my guy? How you feeling?
What up? What up? What up? Let's start like this now. Let's tell them to, hit the subscribe button, the like button.
You know the vibes, my guy.
I love it when you do that, bro. I love it when you do that.
This is a big thing. You know, you are the only person in Nigeria that's ever come on my show twice so far. That's it. It's just you.
Yeah. The first time it was you showing love and support for the Connect Head.
Facts.
Which was a great interview. Really appreciate the interview. But now it's different. I think I deserve a second time because now we're going to be talking about the real stuff. We're going to be talking about music. So another stuff that comes with music.
This is my shit. This is what I was waiting for. I'm almost glad too. Like you're not an easy person to read. So I like the fact that we got a little bit of more of a rapport coming into this one than we did the first time. I feel like that eases some of the tougher questions and stuff like that a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's get into it. So we're here to talk about God's Engineering 2. GSGang, if you ain't peep it yet, go stop now, listen to the album, spin back. If you had listened to the album, I want you to take everything that you're going to take from this. I had a lot of questions tailored specifically to breaking the album down. Get your information, spin the album back again afterwards, see if it makes you feel any differently about any of the tracks. I think this is going to be really, really dope, and this actually could set the premise for future interviews. Depending on how much more insight we get on this album, I might be hearing this shit entirely different. I'm excited for that, man. So let's get into it, man. God's Engineering 2. I want to start with the concept right off the bat. What made you want to do a sequel to God's Engineering instead of creating an entirely new IP or anything like that?
So the truth about it is that when I was creating God's Engineering 1, I wasn't creating it to be like my best album. I just wanted to create something different from what I used to create. Wanted to put some concepts in there. Just something that people could feel more than the, rap situation that people tag me with. And I created God's Engineering 1, and when we put it out, a lot of people have tagged it my best album. And just because I didn't go into the studio feeling like I wanted to create my best album, and a lot of people now say, a lot of people now have it on record that that's AQ's best album. I wanted to go into the studio to feel like I want to create a better album than God's Engineering 1 and still have the feeling of God's Engineering 1. So it's still relatable because God's Engineering 1 is like a time capsule. What I did with God's Engineering 1 was use economic situations that was affecting me, So when I say stuff like small rain, I don't take light, or the song Egg Rolls, and saying stuff like just being in Nigeria is already an issue. We use that subtly, but not coming to make very conscious tracks this is what the song is saying. So we just throw it inside there like punchlines. That's what the whole concept of God's Engineering 1 was about. Just using a lot of the issues that affect you as an artist, that affects you as a human being living in Nigeria, and just sprinkling it around and using some of them as punchlines. Right. I wanted to have the same God's Engineering 2. And so, it's an artist thing to just outdo yourself, to just feel like this can be it. This can be my best album. So I'm like, I want to do something better. So I went into the studio and started the album. Honestly, when I first started the album, I like to record albums, not really track by track, but I'll always start with the intro so that I get that out the way and I understand that the album has started. I recorded the intro, sent it around, because when I started this album, for some reason, it just felt like I'd been out of the studio for a while. I don't know. I know I recorded Ethos like 8 months prior, but it just felt like I had not been in the studio for a while. And I wanted to change some of the things that I felt like was wrong in Ethos. You know, when an album goes out, people give you their feedback and everything. And I take feedback very seriously. I'm not an artist that feels like, oh, because of, I feel like I'm the best or something. If somebody tells me something and I feel like it is true, I'm going to pay attention to it. But that's that self-awareness part of the whole thing with God's Engineering too. And then while just making the album, sent out the intro around, I got very huge positive feedback. And then when I started going on with other tracks, felt like trash, you know. Not that it was trash, but when I put it beside God's Engineering 1, it felt like, what are you doing? Like, and that's when I figured that God's Engineering 1 was such a good album. You know, I didn't feel like sometimes I'll listen to it and be like, what are these guys hearing in this thing? You know, because what I found out that my raps had elevated from when I made God's Engineering 1, but there was so much music, there was so much concept in the project that made it different. So that's why I now realize that, oh, it's not about how good the raps are. It's about the perfect blend of everything just coming together to make a dope body of work. And that's why when I started God's Engineering 2, it just felt like trash. And then, because my process is not a long process, I have all of these things that I'm doing. I got, I got the Connected, I got the cake business. I'm overseeing some artist business and strategy, and all of that. So what I do is that I create some time, 3 weeks, 1 month, to just go into the studio, get all the beats, go into the vocal booth, record, and then there's 1 week for mixing and mastering and all of that. And then it felt like for me to meet up with the time, it was difficult because I had to trash all the stuff that I recorded at first. And then just staying days up, trying to figure out what I needed for the album. I now understood that I did not need to make another album. I just needed to continue the album.
Okay.
So God's Engineering 2 is like a continuation of God's Engineering 1. That's why you have the outro of God's Engineering 1 starting God's Engineering 2, and the intro of God's Engineering 1 ending God's Engineering 2. So it's like a loop.
Right.
It's
so interesting that you said, I don't mean to cut you off, I'm letting you cook, but
yeah.
GSGang, huge shout out to y'all, because they're the ones that put me onto that. I'm terrible. Like when I do my reactions, I usually will grab like 1 or 2 like songs off of an album to help push it. You know what I mean? But I'm doing so many different countries, it's hard to like sit down and enjoy albums. So I made sure for this time to sit down and enjoy it. And I'm geeking. Yo, the intro was dope, dog. So I'm geeking over the quotables in the intro and shit like that. And they're lighting my comments up like, nah, this is the same quote that they ended, the same voice note they ended the first one with. So they made me go back, right? Because I got to do my proper research. So now I'm listening to both of them, back and forth. And based on everything that you just said, I agree with a lot of it. Like my ear as like a rapper, is that the rapping, the literal just rapping on God's Engineering 2 is just superior to the actual, right? Like take away like personal preference, take away, types of tracks you like and shit like that. You are rapping better at a higher level in God's Engineering 2 than, in my opinion, than you were in God's Engineering 1. So to hear you say that as like, here was the bar that they thought, and then I had to come and outdo that, even though seeing how great that was, I'm with, like, I think you achieved it. For what my opinion is worth, I would say that you achieved that goal. And I needed to ask you about that intro too. So that quote, right? That like whatever souls are made of, his and I's. Oh my God! First of all, that's fire. Is that like who is that lady so that we can give her proper credit? Is that a quote that you or her wrote, or is that quoting from something else? Like
No,
I just need to know.
she wrote it by herself. Shout out to her, Z. That's what she likes to be called. She does this poetry stuff, which is not like her major because she's into a lot of stuff. But I always like talk to her and tell her that, look, your poetry is so good, you know. And sometimes she'll just narrate it and put it on a page. And can't remember her page right now, but I can always send that over. And
For sure.
It's so good, and she doesn't have a lot of followers, so it's just there, you know. And when I was making God's Engineering 1, the last song was Loyalty versus Honesty. And I wanted something that could just end the album, you know. And I spoke to her and I told her to like listen to the song and listen to some of the songs on the album. Because for some reason, I don't just play my whole album to people. And I can play you some songs, but I won't just play you the whole album. So only my A&R and people on my team can hear the full album. So I played it for her and she sent me that. And she wasn't comfortable with it. And I was like, it was a voice note. I was like, just hold on, let me finish with it. And there's something she said on that I had to cut out, you know, from part 2, that was on part 1. And she said something like, she was talking about friends, and she said, not to hold you up when you fall, but to make sure that you never do, you know. And in time, during the course of this conversation, you understand why that phrase became like my watchword, because a lot of people come to the table and, you know, they want to do something for you, but they're doing it to feel good about themselves. They're really not doing it for you, you know. And in time, you'll find out. But a true friend will make sure that he doesn't come to pick you up when you're down. He doesn't wait for your rent to expire before he says, yo, hold this 500. It's like, yo, what are you doing? You know this is happening. You know this is happening. Let's go get this. Let's go do this. It's going to make sure that you never fall. So that's how I base my friendship now. If I can't stop you from falling, then there's no need for me to be your friend. There's no reason for me to be there, you know. But if I can make sure that you're standing 24, you know, your future is good, everything is good, and I'm sure that you can help me do the same. If only you can find friendship like that, that's just the way forward. And that's what the whole of God's Engineering 2 is saying. And even if it's in a subtle way, because it's coming from the negative aspect, right? Because I'm not out here preaching that this is what you're supposed to do. Because if I'm out here preaching like this is what you're supposed to do, then it feels like a boring sermon. Right. But if I'm out here saying you're not doing this, then everybody's going to be like, yo, what's he saying? Who is he talking to? You know, and it's more interesting. Because whether anybody likes it or not, I have to still get the message out there. And I have to still play in that that little bit controversial aspect to get the message out there, you know. So a lot goes into my process of making the project. So the question was about the lady. Her name is Z. She's in Canada now, furthering her education. She's just a beautiful soul. She did that one take, bro. She was like, let me redo some parts and everything. And then she wanted to start God's Engineering 2 with another one. And I was like, she sent me one. It was very good, but I was like, now there's something about this one that speaks to me, you know. And when I'm making projects, it has to speak to me, because I know that if it's speaking to me, then it's speaking to thousands of people, you know. Nice. And I just said, I will cut, you know, where it stops feeling like it's more of God's engineering one, where it starts feeling like there's more of God's engineering two, and I cut it up and I just put it inside there. And I sent it to her and she was like, it's amazing, let's go. And then we put that out.
That's awesome. Also, I'm gonna get her tags from you and stuff like that. We definitely gonna tap in a little. We're gonna see this poetry stuff. So how do I want to put this? If there was a takeaway, right, that if you could control what your audience took away from the album after listening, what would be like the one takeaway that you hope people walk away with?
That's a deep question. The first thing is that know your worth and know your value. Now, sorry, I'm going to go into a little rabbit hole here. The whole album is about the things that are not letting you succeed or are not letting hip hop grow, and it's all facts. So when I say stuff like when I got up in the stage and I mentioned them all, when iron sharpens iron, there's friction involved, there's the image of an infinity curve. I'm saying that when we clash, is the image of an infinity curve. It's something you can't stop in hip hop. Don't try to stop it. When Joey Akan tweets, he doesn't speak for the cause. And it's this guy that, always saying that when hip hop wants to trend, all we do is beef and stuff. These are the things that people have started to listen to. You know what we say. Just keep it on wax. As long as you keep it on wax, it's good for the culture. It's not going to stop. It's even happening in the Afrobeats world. It's happening in the R&B world. It happens everywhere. So every little thing I put in the album, I'm coming back to your question, is two things. What is halting the culture from moving forward, right? And what is stopping you as an artist from being successful? That's what the whole album is about. Your friends, the group of things that you feel you need to worship to move forward, right? And the funny thing is that this group of people and things and brands that you feel like you need to worship don't care about you. But year after year after year, you're struggling for them to see you, for you to be affiliated with them, right? And they've taken some of you sometimes and they've put you on what they will call put on. And your career hasn't changed. And the next year again, you're going to come and you're going to still start begging the same group of people to be like, you're going to start trying to let them see you. You're going to start saying, oh, AQ, retweet my stuff. Oh, Vector, retweet my stuff. Oh, Vector, this is the song. Do you understand? And AQ has kids to feed. AQ has nephews to look after. AQ has responsibilities. And so does every other artist. Do you understand? I'm trying to tell you that the reason why you look at these people to do stuff for you is because you don't know your worth. You're not sure of what you can accomplish on your own. So the moment you take these things out, fuck it, I don't need no AQ. Fuck it, I don't need no brand. For now, I don't need nothing. I have nothing. What do I do when I have nothing? When I started with Black Bones, we had nothing. We had no budget. We had nothing. We were in the service apartment recording his first song under the label Bad Boy Black. No budget. And which will go on to be his first album, the name of his first project, and he called it Bad Boy Black, because that was the song that started everything for him. And it was done on a no budget, no nothing. And over the years, I spoke to him recently and I told him that everything you did not have, everything you complained to me about is like, oh, we don't have a Don Jazzy on our team. We don't have an Olamide on our team. Do you understand? If only we had that. And I spoke to him that, look at you, you're not complaining about those things anymore, because everything you did not have made you who you are. So for me, it came at a later stage in my life, just understanding who are these guys that I have to feel like, not bragging, not trying to speak down on anybody, but on the real, if I was not doing music, basically, we would never be in the same circle. Me and these people would never be in the same circle, right? Now, because they occupy some certain places, right? You feel like you have to go and say, please, what do I need to do? Help me, this and that. No, I want everybody that is listening to this right now, the takeaway from this album is that you can literally say, fuck everybody if you mean it, and do it on your own. Because in the end, when I look at my trajectory, yes, people provided opportunities, but they provided opportunities because they saw value. Work on your value, work on yourself, and everything will fall in place. Stop reaching out. Stop getting that no that leaves you depressed. Stop getting that unanswered tweet that gets you depressed, that makes you feel like you're not good enough. Stop, somebody's trying to block everything that you are, but you're like, I don't want to engage. I don't want to engage because if I engage, there'll be no room for making stuff up, No. Tell the person that, look, you are not going to fuck with me and you are not going to fuck with my money. And stand up and do what you need to do to push yourself. So I got to the point where I felt like everybody that attacks me, right, they always attack the music. They don't come out to say anything about me. They have nothing on me. So if I step on somebody's toe, or whether it's intentional or not, the next thing I hear is, oh yeah, come and promote your song here. Let me see how you get on this show. Let me see how you, and I just got to a point where I figured out that I didn't need to get on all these shows. I mean, I could have been a bigger artist. Maybe if I had kissed ass, I would have been a bigger artist. But in the end, I didn't need to get on all these shows. I didn't need those radio promotions. I didn't need all of that. So it's fuck all of y'all, basically. Do you understand? Like, fuck all of y'all that have to use that. We complain about the government in our country so much and people in power, but put just anybody in power and see how they use it. I always say that the problem, I said I was never going to speak on politics because there's just a lot involved. Do you understand? The problem is not Nigerian leaders. The problem is Nigerians. Because if you put anybody there, he's going to abuse that power. I've seen it in the lowest things as the people in charge of opening the estate gates. Once you're approaching and you're a visitor, they have all the power. Pack. Who they can't see. Do you understand? They're just rude, So that's what the album is about. It's about having the self-confidence to say, this is what I need and this is what I do not need. Understanding what you do not need and stop trying to hold on to it because you feel like, without it, you're nothing. I remember when I was signed, like the fourth time, because I was signed a lot of times when I was coming up. And in the end, I did it without a record label. And this guy abused my parents, right? Called my parents paupers. That if my parents were not paupers, I would not be here. And the funny thing is that the guy that produced a lot of songs on this album was the one that got me into that deal. And I walked away. And they stayed, right? The guy that produced 7 tracks of this album was an artist, the producer, but he stayed in the record label. But I worked for somebody to call my parents a pauper. And when I was leaving the record label, because they put us in this house, and what I was really complaining about is, we're wearing all these fancy clothes, we're looking like stars, but there's nothing in our pocket. We can't even call home. Can't put credit in our phones to call home. But when we step out, like cars to take us where we want to go, we're the shit, but there's nothing in our pocket. But they said my parents were paupers, and I walked out, and I walked from where the record label house was to my house. That's, for people that know, for context, that's a Jao Estate to Sonia bus stop along the express. You might not know that, but people that We listen to it, we know. Yeah. And I walked home. And when I was walking home, I thought my life was over. But guess what? The record label never got up. And the artist that stayed years was wasted. Right? And I continued. So everything that you feel like I can't walk away from, I can't move on if these things don't fall in place. Listen to God's Engineering too, man. Listen to it. You don't need all of that. You need you. You need the value that you bring. Work on your music, work on your strategy, work on your marketing, find the budget. Because nobody will really give you if you don't have any of these things in place. If I listen to the music and the music is not really good, you know, I wouldn't sign you. Do you understand? Shout out to the guy that is popping now, Odumodu. Like, people say he has a very harsh delivery when he tweets, right?
I blocked him over a tweet.
Yeah, it has very, you know, but he's so confident about everything, and he calls out everything, and he's doing well. You know, so if you keep bitching, that's a lot of stuff that happens in the hip hop community. You know, a lot of artists, they come with the most confident bars, but behind the scenes, they just bitches. Sorry, but it's just what it is. You know, and you shake their hand and you're just like, nah, this guy's gonna sell me out in 5 minutes. You know, he's gonna throw me under the bus in 2 minutes just to get 100K. You know, I'm not with all of that. You know? I mean, you can be. I'm not saying you shouldn't be all of that, right? But if it's still not working at this point, you have to change your strategy. If you've been kissing us and it's still not working to this point, you have to change your strategy, because hip hop is not looking good anyway. You know, just in the Nigerian market. So it means you're not doing anything. Because if you are doing something, hip hop will be looking really good in the market. So it simply means that something has to change, you know. And that's what I want artists to take away when they listen to this album. Because the album, yes, for fans too, anywhere you work at, anywhere you find yourself, any position you find yourself, just know that there are a lot of things that will come your way that you feel like, man, if I walk away from this, my life is over. You know, your life is not over. And this brings me to the religious part of stuff that, you know, one of the reasons why I was so excited to take this interview with you is because you see things totally different from the way I see things, you know, and it's beautiful when I watch you go through songs and you have your opinions about certain things, especially spirituality, religion, and everything. And of course, I have no problem with that, to say the least. But if you believe in God and you feel like you have to kneel before men, then I'm sorry. Especially men that don't wish you well. I mean, I've gone on both knees for people in my life, but I know that those are people that will help me, will genuinely help me, and they did, you know. But if you're kneeling to people, you know, that will walk away, that will treat you like rubbish, and you're still doing it, and I'm sorry, man, there's nothing I can do. You can keep doing it.
Got you. Wow, there's a lot to dig into with that answer. I appreciate you giving me such a thorough response to that. Where do I want to start with this? Let's start with this. This seems like there's a couple really good transitions in here that I wanted to get to. The comment that you said about the problem isn't the people in power, the problem is Nigerians, was what you just said. And the idea is, if you put anybody into that position, you know what I'm saying, they're going to react the same way. And the proof isn't just in the high ends of government. You know what I'm saying? Just there's evidence everywhere, from local police force, you know, all the way up. One of the big questions I wanted to get in with you was about, I'm going to mispronounce this, just correct me, I'm apologizing. Mogadishu, which was the capital, you know what I mean, of Somalia. And I wanted to get into the reason that you chose that title, and if that was a reflection on how you viewed Nigeria, like the actual trajectory and everything like that. If it just made sense, or if it came from a place of like something that you were really feeling. Like I feel like just the choosing of the title of that track, and after listening to it, obviously, and then after hearing you speak just now, what is your view of Nigeria? What made you decide on that title track? Like from like you as a person, you as a human who's living there and experiencing it and stuff like that. Like where do you actually stand with all that?
So first of all, when I chose the title Mogadishu, right? When I was young, my father used to make us say these country and capitals, and there's two of them that caught me just being a youngin. There was Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, and Somalia, Mogadishu, because the names were so interesting. And then when you listen to a lot of these American rappers, you know, the name tracks after luxury places, right? And we know these luxury places. But guess what? When I called the song Mogadishu, a lot of Nigerians didn't know where that was or what that was.
I Googled
A
it.
lot of Nigerians, even people on my team, were like, Q, you don't come again with all these long words. Waiting with this. But it's the capital of Somalia, right? Now, I told you that the concept of the albums is just taking some socio-political, economic situations and just placing them into the album in a way that it explains some things about you or a certain situation, so when I say something like politicians still out here capping, it's not what the song is about, but I'll just put it there, to let you know that that's a situation among all the other things that is going on. So Mogadishu is actually a reflection of myself and some people who are built in a beautiful way, right? Because I put it on Twitter. The inspiration behind the song is just understanding that Somalia was colonized by the Italians, and the way they modeled Mogadishu was almost the same way as Rome. So all the beautiful structures and buildings, and then the war and everything just brought the whole country apart. So when you go there, it's just bullet holes, things that you can see that should be beautiful, but bombs have ripped through everything, right? And you look at those situations and you're like, damn. So it really reminded me how my mind at that point where I was recording the album, where I was, right? I really wanted to say beautiful things, but, I just couldn't, right? Because, you're writing stuff and something just comes, and it's a traumatic experience, yes. And, everybody will say, yo, trauma. We use the word loosely, but once again, this is my opinion. Everything is trauma, right? Everything has a little trauma in it, because I don't like doing interviews, but I have to do it. Do you understand? I don't like sitting in front of the camera and having to just say things that I might not be 100% sure about, and you can't edit it, I like to be really sure about what I'm saying. So there's a bit of anxiety, when I'm having interviews. But with all these traumatic experiences, it builds who you are, whether we like it or not. And that's why I made that song. It's introspection. So introspection is really how everything around you affects you as a person. And then I said in the song, I am my trauma. That is me accepting everything that I am, everything that I've become, understanding that I need to work on a lot of things, but understanding also that trauma means you survived. And when it comes up, it reminds you that it wasn't good for you. So something will happen to you, and it's called a trigger, to remind you that this shit is not good for you. So you need to survive again. You need to leave this place right now. Or, you know, so sometimes I embrace it because of what it has made me understand. You know, like on a verse I said, I see you moving from like when my dad didn't have no money and it's trying to make me feel at ease. You know, I see it and I'm like, oh, I understand what's going on here. So the whole stuff about Mogadishu is not, it is about, I was praying that Nigeria should not become like that. But I also said on Born Sons, pray that shit miss you. I'm also praying that you don't become something that should have been beautiful, but all of these traumatic experiences have, you know, you've become somebody else. You become a version of yourself. A lot of people sit down in front of you and say, I am this person. But when you look at them, you know that they are not, you know. But they believe it's true and true that they are this. And that's why I really don't like that I'm him. I don't like it, right? Because everybody comes to the table with this, I'm the guy, I'm this, I'm that. I'm sorry, when I say the guy, I don't mean it in, you know, I know
they're gonna clip that and run with it. Don't worry about it. You know what they're gonna do.
No, you can leave it, but I need to explain it. I don't mean
I
like that, you know. But a lot of people come, you know, to the table like I'm him. Nah, just because you rap good doesn't even mean that you're him. Let's check other things, right? Let's see who you are. Do you understand? No, you're not. And it's okay. It's okay to be filled with flaws. Do you understand? It's how you use these things, how you know, triumph over these things. And God's Engineering 2 was a battle of self. It was, before I made it, I was fighting with myself. Was I wrong? You hear it in the intro. I start with, for once, I feel like I was wrong. I started the intro like that. But as the album goes on, you understand that everything that I said was explaining everything else, right? It was actually me fighting myself and saying, oh shit. And once again, don't conflict it. If you're listening to me and feel like, oh, you've always been right, don't conflict it with being a version of yourself. Because I really had to look into things and I really had to work on a lot of things. Right? I really had to understand a situation to be like, oh, I did everything that I could. I tried my best. And if my best was not enough, then what else would I have done? So I have to rise above it. You know, this is not somebody saying like, coming out to say, I'm the greatest, I'm this, I'm, you know, this is me saying that I understand who I am. I've fought my demons and I've won. I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly what I need to do. If the music is a problem to you, you can have it. You can have it because that's the only thing you can attack. But I said it, if I never sold one record, I still make it out this fucking zoo. What is your priority? Making it through music? My priority is making it, full stop. Taking care of my family. Taking care of everything that I need to do. Making sure people around me are good. That's my priority. I don't care how I do it. I'm not going to do anything illegal, but just for who I am. But if your priority is that when AQ drops music, it makes you feel the way, you can have it. But if it's that I'm taking care of my family and that's a problem to you, then you're going to have a problem for the rest of your life. Because this is not a version of me. This is me understanding what I can do, my value, my worth, who I am. In any trade, if I decide to, you know, funny enough, I was on the internet yesterday and I usually don't look at stories, but there's this person that doesn't really put up stories, and she put up a story. So I'm like, let me check this out. You know, I was hoping I'll see her. You know, I was hoping I'll see her because she doesn't really post.
Respectfully.
But it was a headline of a woman that had released. I've sold more books than the Bible. And I was like, wow, never thought that anybody would outsell the Bible. Right? So I did some research on the woman. She married at 16. She has 3 sons. She started writing again at 31. She started late at 31. And when she finished her first book, Slam, she put it up on Amazon for her grandmother to read. Because she felt like, everybody's saying people don't read anymore. So my grandma still reads because she's from that era, right? And she put it on Amazon for free for her mother to read. And then her mother told her sister, oh, your sister just wrote this very good book. And the sister read the book and it was amazing too. And she told a friend, I told a friend. She sent it to her grandma as a Christmas gift in December. By January, Amazon said, this thing can't be free on our site anymore.
Doing too good.
And she started selling it.
That's dope. They
forced her to start selling it. And now she sold more books than the Bible. Over 20 million sold. And, so if I choose to start whenever, just because I know who I am and what I can do, I still make it out this fucking Zoom. It's not up to nobody. She didn't need any. Slam was the first self-published book to do certain numbers. Her book, self-published. She didn't even need a publisher. Right? If I have to learn how to write over again and start writing books that good, I will do it to feed my family. I will do it. So nothing is dependent on you, and just understanding that, even if we need to connect because we're social beings, do you understand? But if you're not ready to help, please, right? I had a situation, somebody called me and said, let me give you advice. I said, please save the advice. Like, every time you call me, you have advice for me. Like, you're my OG, right? But I don't need this advice because you have nothing for me other than advice, right? Look, I need also people to understand that this is not a man talking from pride, ego. Left my ego a long time ago, right? This is a man that is saying that I know what to do, and I know that I can, and I know that I will. But my greatest fear was always taking care of the family. I got that from trauma, from the family I was raised in. Right. So when I think about how I was raised, I was like, do I really need to bring kids into the world? Had this conversation numerous times with Black Bones who says, I don't want to bring kids into the world. And it's the same trauma, But now I'm ready. I wasn't ready before because it's not dependent on you, and you, or them, or her, or whoever. It's dependent on everything that I do. And so somebody told me that this album, why do you feel like it's different from all the albums? I said it's not different from all the albums. It's just the rap is much more better than what it used to be. But it says you always feel like you're different. I say like I am. Because you guys celebrated quotes from people that were said in the 1800s. And a lot of them today are not really right. Right? If I was really writing these rhymes in the 1800s, you guys will be celebrating these quotes right now. These quotes that I give you, you can't find them anywhere else because they're uniquely tailored to my lifestyle and to me. So when I say rich or poor, what's in between that is your business choice. It's tailored to me. It seems like a very general statement, but it's something that I've tried and I've seen that it works. So what does anybody want to tell me? It's my business choice. It's not yours. It's not anybody else. And that's when I made Mogadishu. That's why I said, cheers to my future self. I barely know. That's celebration already, knowing that he's made it already.
Sorry.
So what's this person trying to tell me that I need to kiss his ass to get on a cipher or to get on a whatever? Nigga, fuck you and everything you stand for. You know, that's just the vibe that I'm on right now. I'm not trying to start any war. I'm not trying to, do you understand? But if it's fuck me, then it's fuck me because I don't need you. Right? I don't, basically. And I'm just really excited. I'm just really happy about discovering this, even if it's coming very late in my life. So just understand that, you know, use you for an example, right? You come here, you do this. It's not dependent on anybody. The internet is not shutting down anytime soon.
Right.
Right? And you put out your creativity, you put out your thoughts, you put out your what you believe is you, and you earn from it. And of course, you still got other stuff on the side and everything, but your family is priority. When you try to take, you know, Blackbone said something, and you know, people who think that I inspire a lot of things that Blackbone does. I actually don't inspire a lot of things that Blackbone does. It's actually things that he's experiencing. And he said, which one of you can say you never stopped another nigga's bag? And he said, I've never stopped another nigga's bag. But which one of you can stand up and say, I'm repeating it in this interview or on this interview, which one of you can stand up and say that you never stopped another nigga's bag? That's been my life story. Niggas trying to stop my bag. But guess what? Because I was dependent on them. I was looking like, oh, please don't stop my bag. Don't, nigga, fuck you. I don't need that bag. It's not for me. Right? So it's not, this album might probably be the last time that I will be, and I chose this platform. I was really looking for the platform to say these things. And I just felt like it should come from somebody that is not really aware of all of the things that is going on. So he will not have any bias, you know, any bias thoughts about what I'm saying or what is going on. He's just going to approach it. Oh, this is what he's saying. This is his story, basically. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm putting down here, because it's going to be on you know, your blog, and it's going to be there for a long time. Anybody can refer to it. You know, these are what these lyrics mean. You know, while people are just saying that, you know, and I'm saying the difference between me and these rappers is a mic thing, I'm really saying something. They're putting words together for rhyme schemes. That's not what I came here to do. Be the greatest in that. That's you. I came here to just take everything that is me and put in a record. So when I listen to it, I'll be like, oh shit, this was me back then. Oh, I really saw me in the future, you know. I play for my kids. And if my kids listen to me, they know what to take from that. And to anybody that, you know, my DM is a very interesting place where people come to say, oh, this song did this for me. This song took me through this. 2020 was a hard time. This, that, and that. And sometimes I call them and say, yo, for the guys that are still going through stuff, and I might not have money to give you, but these words I have to give you because I've been here. I'm still here. You know, no matter how, like, sometimes we rap about money, and sometimes I listen to it and I'm like, what am I even really talking about? Do you understand? I'm still in this gutter, you know, because it's never enough, especially in this country that we're in. You know, it takes one kidney failure and your account is gone. Everything you saved up, gone. You start even trying to put a GoFundMe. So, you know, I can't even just say Mogadishu, you know, because the next song after that is King Solomon. And it's saying almost the same thing, but it's saying it in a different way. You know, the whole album, the intro is a summary of what the whole album is about. And then the whole album is just speaking to these things in various forms. Because when I say, bro, everybody just thinks I'm talking to one guy, right? One specific guy. We talked about man-made. If I didn't highlight all of the things that happened, the moment I said, want to pick up the phone and talk to my bro, like, everybody would have just felt like it was one guy. But I have people that I really grew up with that I call my bro. I have real family members that I call my brothers. Right? So when you listen to music, just don't be stupid. Just listen to music. Right? That's what I'm saying. Just listen to music. And whether you're anybody's fan, you know, or all of that, that's none of my business. That's why I don't do the whole stanship, the whole I'm a fan of this guy, I'm my fan base. No, I'm not that special. I'm not going to rate myself as I am the guy. I'm not coming to the podium as the guy. Look, interesting conversation. So many artists we've forgotten. I sit back and I think about them that made their impact no matter how small, and they are no longer being talked about. Right? And the question the universe will always ask is, are we going to make it? The universe is asking that question, right? And no, we're not going to make it. And we struggle to make it. I think I'm tired of rapping. And while I was at it, a lot of niggas couldn't wipe my shoes. That's okay for me. I'm not a failure because I'm choosing to stop. Stop it. Many people have stopped. See, you understand? Many people that you don't remember have stopped. Look at Boogie. I feel that it's in a much more happier space. Music is just music. And you want to shoot me over music? You want to stop the money I used to take care of my sick mom over music? What are you doing? It's just music. It's just words that we put together and we come, you know, it's funny how we make money out of these things. People are doing real jobs. I'm not saying music is not a real job, but people are putting their hands in the mud to feed their family.
I get you.
And then you're going to try to do what over music. And a lot has just happened. It just made me say, like, yo, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like the way you're acting over music? Okay, I'm not the best. Are you happy now? Would that make you sleep better at night? Okay, I'm done. I'm gone. This is my last album. And then with your next question, I'll just follow up with a couple of things that I just want to add to that, and hopefully it just ties into it, because this is also a message for people to just leave me alone, man. Because I see all of these questions that they have, and that's why I chose this platform to just answer every question. You know, you can ask me anything. You know, okay. Hopefully I'm going to try. You know, because sometimes you say the truth and it still feels like you're talking down on somebody. But facts is facts. You know, I just chose this platform to say it. So let the questions come in. Like to really hear some questions from the fans. I know the question they're asking, and you know, I'm not against it.
I got you. I will look. We're easing into reason. First of all, you just said a lot, so let me address a couple of things that you said. Number one, if you're listening to this and you're under 31 years old, I really hope that anecdote he told you about the lady selling her book and she didn't start writing until 31 and ended up outselling them. I hope that resonated with you, because like I didn't start this. Like when I started doing this, what am I? I'm 3 years in, just about. I was 32 when I started this. Right? Nothing. No. You can't find. I mean, if you dig hard enough, you can find older shit of me rapping and shit like that. But you can't find none of like the platform that I built prior to that. So I appreciate you sharing that. First of all, that was beautiful to hear. Before I get into other questions, I feel like as my guy, I feel the need to ask you this. So like this whole battle of self-awareness and coming to terms with trauma, specifically like the outrospection, I don't think it was my favorite track on the album, but I do think it was the best track on the album, because it was the one that I felt like I related the most to, especially with the issue with the parents. And like you gave the quote earlier, you know, about your pops trying to do the right thing when it wasn't there. And like that stuff really, really like made my heart sink when I felt it, because that's that's a lot of people's story. That's a lot of people's story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think my question to you is, given that was like the topic of everything, and given that was the goal, was like facing these traumas, how do you feel now that the album is out and done? Like, do you feel like it's off your chest and you're able to move past it? Do you feel like that helped some kind of healing of it? Or did it not do anything? Like I'm just like a homie checkup. Like, are you good? Like was this therapeutic for you? Are you better now that this is out? Like that's what I want to know right now.
Steve, man, thank you for asking this question. I'll say something. This is the way the album is lined up. I try to tell my peers, the reason I keep winning is because I'm self-aware. And this is it. This is introspection, right? It says, oh, I was beat with a cane, so I fought my classmates, fought my siblings. It's just saying what some of the traumatic experiences made me become, right? And I'm working on some things. You see, when you're born here, as soon as you start getting a grip on yourself and understanding what the world is about, you understand that it's you versus expectations, right? So you have expectations of your parents, expectations of your siblings, slowly becomes expectations, from your teacher, expectations from your classmates, expectations from where you work, your boss, your colleagues, your girlfriend, your wife, and there are all of these expectations. And then, first of all, when I record, I'm coming back to that, but when I record a song, it means the battle is done. I'm not fighting anymore. Okay. I have won the battle so I can speak about it.
Got you.
Right. And there are all of these expectations. And I've been fighting with all of these expectations. I have to be the best. My fans won't be happy if I'm not the best. I got to win this award. I got to make my mother proud. I got to, And then you have to understand something, that there is accountability. And people don't like to be accountable. People don't like to be accountable. They don't like to be accountable to anything. They basically don't like accountability. So they're going to say, leave me here, let me smoke my weed. Right? And when somebody says stuff like, oh, Azul will fuck up your kidneys, they're going to be like, who is this hater? Right? But if their mom tells them Azul will fuck up their kidney, they'll be like, even if they don't want to listen, they respect where it's coming from. Right. But they're not going to respect it because it's coming from AK. Right? But it's just the message. Right. So it's you versus these expectations. And I'm expecting you not to, when I say those things, you're puffing on cigars to boost up your image. I'm expecting you not to do these things. Right? Because my mom liked sugar when she was young. Like to put coke in a stout, coke in a malt, Now I got to struggle with diabetes.
I got you.
Right? I don't want to be that to my kids. So for me, the highest level of self-awareness, once again, this is my opinion. I'm not some kind of psychiatrist or anything like that, a therapist. But the highest level of self-awareness is when you understand the expectations that you have of yourself and for yourself are the right expectations and will see you through life in a good way. And why are you doing this shit? You want to land yourself in jail? Do you know what jail is like? But yeah, you're going to do it anyway because you feel like it's right, but it's not. So I was having a conversation with somebody and I was like, when my dad told me not to do music, was he right or wrong? And the guy was like, look at you, look at the house you live in, look at this, look at that. Of course he was wrong. And I said he was right. And it was like, how could he have been right? I was like, the skills that made me money in music was not because I was the baddest rapper. Yes, it added. But it would have made me money in anything that I decided to do that I was good at. But as at the point before I got those skills, my dad looked at me and said, this is a lost child. And I was lost. So I've reached a space where I'm feeling like, what expectations do I have for myself? Are they the right expectations? What do I want to do? I want to raise kids in a safe environment. It's okay if that's not your priority. I want to provide for them. It's okay if that's not your priority. I want to do what's necessary to make myself and my family as comfortable as they can be. My extended family. It's okay if that's not your priority. But we don't have to work together because we have different, expectations of what we're trying to do. They're trying to be famous. They're trying to fuck girls. They're trying to smoke hell of weed, get high. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. But it doesn't just match. So can I focus, please? So when you ask how I feel when I make this kind of record, I'm happy that I came to the conclusion that my traumatic experience did not destroy me. It did not lead me to a part where I had to arm myself, right? It did not lead me to a part where I felt like I had to do armed robbery or do any of these things that would have put me somewhere, All of these experiences brought me to a place where I'm striving to make myself better. Every critic that made sense, there was this agenda that they pushed and they say Q rhymes off beat. And it's funny to me, But I listened to it and I started really checking it when I rap. Because I put people on beat. I engineer a lot of songs. I said, oh, you guys don't like this nice flow. Okay, I'll check it. Right? You guys don't like when I flip like this. Okay, I'll check it. But I just found out that to some people, they just need something to be negative about. They just need to hold on to something. And then I'm not trying to please you because you've made up your mind already before you press the play button. I know my album is good when I have a bunch of niggas that are not even following me. So like, who is this guy? Man, I just listened to this. Do you understand? I never heard any foreign person listen to my music and say, oh, this is the issue. This guy needs to. All the foreign people are like, who is this guy? I mean, when I do good things,
Right.
And I mix and master records. I actually chop as an engineer. I actually chop things up and put it on beat. You are not going to tell me.
I want to interrupt you for a second. I try not to do that too much, but this leads me to a very, very interesting question on the way that this interview has gone. So my question is specifically about what you're saying right now, right? So I've already given my opinion, and I think you agreed with me with what you were saying, that God's Engineering 2 is just an upgrade, rapping ability-wise, from God's Engineering 1.
Yeah.
So in like a hindsight 2020 retrospect type thing, right? Now that you agree that you have surpassed where you were with God's Engineering 1, have you looked back and been like, man, maybe some of those criticisms that I didn't like hearing or I didn't agree with at the time, now that you're looking back and you're like, wow, I'm better than I was then. Do you look back and be like, nah, I kind of see what they were saying now that I'm like removed from it and you've advanced skill wise and stuff like that? Is there any part
depends
of
on what you're going back to listen to. It's a time capsule for me, right? Like I said, it's when I attempted to make another version, a part 2 of that album, that I found out that, oh, this album is in a certain way, But when I sit back and listen to one of my greatest albums, Golden, it puts me in a place, right? I'm not checking for the technicality, That's an album of mine, Rose, and the mixing is so bad. It's so bad. I mean, when I listen to it now, But it doesn't affect me because I used to listen to those mixtapes that were not mixed back in the day.
Facts.
Big
and
facts. I still used to enjoy it. So if you're gonna,
still do. I'll still throw some Green Lantern shit on. Yeah, get out of your mind today.
Enjoy it. So if you're going to come at me with some, that's not what I'm listening to. When I listen to those stuff, I go back and I be like, man, these times were great times. You know, I'm my biggest critic. I am my biggest critic, but still, I give myself a pat on the back because there are so many things that I had to do. And even if it doesn't concern the listener, because the listener is just going to say this product or this product, it doesn't care whether this person had to go through this, and third to get this product done.
Right.
You know, but I put the message there to understand that it was difficult to get here. You know, and I'm a fan of the art itself. So I will keep improving because I'm a student of the game. I'm a student of the game. So if I release another album, it's going to be a good album. Because I'm going to take everything that, you know, is wrong with this album, that I feel that is wrong with this album, and I'm going to try to do them in the next one. Not of you, him, or her, right? Yes, I listen to it and I be like, okay, but I've already heard it before you said it. Right? I already feel that way. You know, you can be in a studio session and just be like, you just recorded the song, and then when you get home, you're like, damn, I need to go back to the studio. But that opportunity is not there anymore to go back to the studio. So you're left with what you're left with. You know when, what's the name of this rapper? Shit. This battle rapper said in one of his lines that you had one chance to take a picture with Michael Jackson and you didn't come out good in the picture. What you gonna do? You're gonna post it. Whether you look good in the picture or not, you're gonna post it. You know, so you're left with that verse, and you have to go with it. But the listener doesn't care. Do you understand about all of those situations? But I know this, and when I hear it in an upcoming artist, I forgive it because I know the situation. When I hear a bad mix, I forgive it. You know, I'll be like, that's not what I'm listening to. Yeah, I'm listening to your raw talent. So don't get shy because your mix is not good and you don't want to send me that record. You know, I'm not going to judge you for that. Don't get shy because you used your phone to record. Do you understand? I'm just looking out for the elements. If you can rap, you can rap. There's no, you know, battle rappers don't even need anything. They just come out and they just use their voice and use whatever microphone that you give them at that moment. Sometimes no microphones. And we can hear what they're saying and we enjoy it. So what are you talking about? You're still putting it on a platform where you can still do some edits and everything. So what are you talking about? So yes, the rap has elevated, and the rap has elevated because honestly, shout out to Boogie, I have to say this. When Boogie stopped rapping, I didn't feel like there was any competition again. Because I'm not trying to speak down on any other rapper, you know, but I understand that you have responsibilities. So the music will be in a certain way, right? But there are few of us that loved what we did to a point where it came before every other thing. When I say every other thing, I mean like our responsibilities. And we found a way, have this last 50K, man. I'm using 30 in the studio, you know. And shout out to him because he impacted the game in a way that I had not experienced in a long time. And I didn't feel it till he stopped rapping. You know, I don't know if he has stopped rapping, but I mean, we don't hear of him frequently.
Ideally, he hasn't, right? Ideally, he hasn't. Shout out to Boogie. I hope you're true. I hope what you said is true. I hope he's in a happier place. I hope he's zen right now. You know what I'm saying? Like he's super solid. Every conversation I've ever had with that guy, like he's solid, and he raps his fucking ass off. He raps his ass off.
So at that point, I was like, the only competition is me, because it's okay for somebody to come off the many commercial songs he has done and to come and drop one okay record, and everybody's going to be like, okay rap record, and everybody's going to be like, oh, because he has come down from his high horse to do what the peasants do, because that's the way people look at it, and he has excelled at it to a certain level. You know, everybody's going to be like, And, you know, just because we give it at a certain level all the time, people always expect more from us. I don't know if you understand. Let me give an example. Drake can give a lot of horrible rap songs, but the day he raps right, he's the greatest. Right? And then everybody's still expecting John Lucas to raise the bar every time he's coming to the table, you know, and give that kind of I'm a rapist performance, you know. And they were going to complain about Kendrick to say, oh, this album is not it, you know, because he's not giving us a damn experience or a Good Kid, Mad City experience, you know. And they were going to not appreciate. It's the same thing, you know. It's a utility curve thing, right? If you keep giving somebody the same thing, it starts to underappreciate it for a bit, you know. But when somebody gives them varieties of fun tracks and, oh shit, man, this guy, you know, because the curve goes up when it drops, you know, that song. So at that point, I now felt like the only way that I'm going to keep my audience is to keep elevating, you know. So I didn't elevate because of nobody, right? Because I know that I was doing my best based on the resources that I had, you know. And when the resources started getting better, the music started getting better. So I knew I needed money. Nobody's going to give you money out there, right? Not signed to any of this record labels. Worked for record labels, you know. I've had contracts that I've turned down, but I've had contracts that I said, no, this is not for me. Give it to that person. That person will make better use of this contract than I do, right? So, you know, I had to do other stuff to make the music better. I had to learn how to mix and master. Mixed and mastered some big projects. Mixed and mastered Blackbone's, one of Blackbone's biggest projects, Sex Over Love. I think I did all of the records there, you know. And it's just for all of those experiences of saying, where am I going to get money to give somebody to mix each record? And I need to put out 10 songs. That's a lot of money. Where am I going to find that? So I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to get on YouTube. I'm going to take classes online, just understand this thing. I'm going to go to studios and see how they do stuff, do you understand, and then come back. That's the whole process. And you're still recording in the process. And you must still drop projects in the process, you know. So as everything starts coming together, the music starts getting better. You know, you have quality time, you have your equipment. You can say, oh, I don't need to retake this tape. I can just cut it here and move it a bit, you know, and then everything is all right. So yeah, it's not the criticism, you know, it's all right, you know. It's hard to understand what is real and what is not these days on social media, as a lot is being discussed in WhatsApp groups before, you know, they let the tech go. You know, before they let the tech go. So it's hard to say what is not and what is real these days. So I thank God for one thing, that a lot of the I try to focus on the good stuff. A lot of the energy that I'm getting off my projects, my songs, you know, are not inspired by envelopes, you know, are not inspired by, yo, it's a fan base, so I'm going to drop this in the WhatsApp group. All of you just run out there and say it's the best thing you ever heard. You know, I wouldn't lie, I've tried that in the past. I said, you know, you want to try everything when you're coming up as an artist, but you just get to a point where you have to ask yourself, like, who are you? What do you really want out of this? And the moment that I realized that music became money was not first for me, you know, when I got to a certain space of making music, the quality of the record was what was most important. Not to say that I don't have the market in my head, you know, not to say that I will not give one or two songs the opportunities to become records that people sing, you know, regularly. I'll always give the opportunity in one or two songs. But am I going to listen to the project and say that it's something that I'm proud of? Yes, that's definitely how I feel with every project that I've released since I got into a space. And I'll say that that would be from 2017, 2018. Since I got into that space, I don't think there's been any miss for me, from the Crown album, upward. I don't think I've had a miss. I mean, from my own marks.
Right, I got you. Okay. Let's get into some of the meat and potatoes of these then. You said you wanted to get into a lot of fan comments, fan questions, things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of this stems from what I will call politely as the extreme vagueness of a lot of your statements on the album. And you did kind of address that so far. Like you made it very clear that when I say like, yo, bro's tripping doing X, Y, and Z, that bro is unisex. Like that could be whoever, like if the shoe fits, wear it type thing. Right. So a lot of the questions are like, hey, what is his relationship with X, Y, and Z? How is the relationship? Like, is this bar about X, Y, and Z? So it starts off right with friction, right? So you got the whole when steel sharp or when iron sharpens iron, I'm saying it's for the benefit of all of hip hop. Like that's just the way that it is, right? And the question that gets flooded is this about MI? Right? Like that's what it comes from top to bottom. So kind of like
when
elephant
iron
in the room.
Iron, there's friction involved. So when you see us clashing, it's a definitive cure for the culture. Basically, that was just a setup line for first of all, right? And I don't want this interview to be about one person. I would like that a lot. So I would really like the questions to be direct so that we can get out of that zone and talk about other things. First of all, there is no line on the project for M.
Cool.
Right? I want to get that clear. Right?
Straight clear.
There is not one line on that project for M. There might be a line that collectively implies. And I'm a writer. I must write about what affects me. But there's not one line directed at M on that album. That's not to say we're in the best of terms. I have received an apology from him. Did I accept the apology? Maybe not. It came from a good place, but I'm okay, right? I don't have to be in a certain camp. If I have to be in a certain camp for you to appreciate my music, I don't need you as a friend, right? Because part of that apology says, I understand that you need to do what you need to do to protect yourself, right? And I am going to protect myself so that things like that does not occur, because I do not trust that it would not occur again. It might not occur again, but there has to be some convincing there. And who am I to be convinced, to sit back and wait for somebody on that level to come and convince me that that's not going to happen again, right? I feel I deserve that, but who am I? So I'm just going to sit back and say, let me do what I'm doing here, because it's okay, right? And you can do what you're doing there. And I wish you the best while you're doing what you're doing there. And whether or not you wish me the best, whether I'm doing with what I'm doing here, I will continue doing what I'm doing here. So, and that's it. So there's no, I don't have any bad blood towards that camp or anything like that. I did my time there. I found 100 Crown when all hope was dead. I gave hip hop some of his golden years. I don't want to speak on the individual things that I did when I was there. Chocolate City, hopefully, is still the #1 artist on. I mean, Black Bones is still the #1 artist on Chocolate City. I'm not going to say I did that alone, but if I did not begin it, it won't, you know, it wouldn't have happened. And a lot of people are making money from that, including myself. So I did what I did when I was there, and it was marvelous. You know, gave hip hop some of its golden years, and I've come to this side, and I've also shown that I can still survive standing on my own platform. And when I see people unhappy about certain things, I feel like that's what they are really unhappy about. Because they can anything that on the album that is specifically, do you understand, pointed at any at that camp. I feel like the real thing you're mad about is that I went to do stuff on my own, and it wasn't a flop. It wasn't one of the biggest projects, but it wasn't a flop, right? So I think that's what people are really mad about, because they want to see certain things, and it's okay. I understand you want to see us work together, want to do songs together, because those moments were really huge moments for hip hop. You know, the ciphers, each of us being on each of us albums, and albums were coming frequently. To be honest, I feel like everybody had to keep up with me, because, you know, when you're there and you're telling them, oh, I've got an album coming tomorrow, and they're like, oh shit, do you understand? Ever since I left, I don't feel like the albums have been coming the way it was coming when I was there. So if nobody's going to like give me credit for the things that I did, you know, starting from the whole Black Bones, Best Rapper in Africa era, you know, to the ciphers, I created ciphers, basically. Mattel Cypher 1, 2, the last cipher, you know, and some other things, you know. If nobody's going to give me a pat at the back for, you can go back to those moments, you know, and say that, oh, this fam, like 10 albums or more from those moments. What else do you want from me? You know, I've done what I'm supposed to do over there, and it's time for me to move on, because I feel like I wasn't treated fairly. There's nothing wrong with that, because on this other side, they're going to say we treated you fairly, but they will probably say you're quick to temper, you're quick to this, you know, and that's okay, because that's what you believe. But I've sat back and I said, AQ, did you do anything wrong? And I've thought about it for weeks and months. And Steve, I'll tell you that the only thing I did wrong was make people money. That's the only thing I did wrong.
So obviously, I don't have a lot of insight about anything. You said it yourself. That's like one of the upsides about this platform. We try to keep it about the music, so on and so forth. I'll say a couple things real quick, just, you know, on the topic while we're on it. Number one, it is good to hear that there's no bad blood, and that you know what I mean. Even
they call me for a track, I'm going to show up immediately.
What was it? Say it again.
If they call me for a track, I'm going to show up immediately.
Yo, that's what we want to hear. That's what the fans care about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm going to show up immediately.
I can say this from my interactions, right? So I posted up with M for a day in New York, and the only time that your name came up, there was nothing bad said. It was just comments on how intelligent of a man you were, was like the talk that we had, right? And then, like I said, I'm not into the TMZ stuff, so I didn't like ask or get into any of that stuff. We were literally just like our opinions on, you know what I mean? Like picking my brain about my opinions on people, and then I'm picking his brains about, like, you know what I mean? So like the air where there was an opportunity to, like, I don't matter. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I'm just some guy on the internet. Like if there was like an agenda to badmouth and spread stuff, it was never made apparent to me. But I'll say something though.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why I feel like I didn't accept the apology. Right? Okay. Exactly why. If an opportunity, right, or you find yourself in a situation where you know that this guy is the guy that can do this, but you omit, right? Then I'm going to just sit back and be like, oh, okay, that's fine. You know, it's one thing, right? Saying, oh, right, yo, Steve, I love you. You're a great guy. Anywhere I go, Steve is a great guy. Steve is a great guy. But now I'm sitting somewhere and there's let's do this thing and we want some online presence and we need some guys that can really push the hip hop stuff. And I'm not going to say, yo, call Steve. He's like the biggest hip hop. He has the biggest hip hop platform in Africa right now, right? Then, you know, then what's that about? But it's not your obligation to do that. And I understand that. Do you understand? But I'm just going to, and I would not do that. If I sit back and there's any opportunity that I come across and they're like, oh, man, who do you think I can do? By all means. Do you understand? I remember that I was invited for one hip hop event, you know, and it was going to happen close to the hip hop event. And I didn't show up. Because it just feel like, oh, you're trying to lift a competing brand or something. And I had a conversation with the organizer of the event afterwards. And the guy was saying that, oh, that he had already spoken to this guy's camp and he has told him that he wants to be doing this. But I didn't know that, you know. So I'll always place myself in a situation where I don't have to, don't put it like this, there won't be any friction of some sort, you know. And if there are any opportunities that are put on anybody's table, you know, you'll be the first number that I might not reach out to you directly, but I'm going to reach out to your manager. I'm going to reach out to somebody in the team and say, yo, there's this opportunity. Because time and time again, I've had the opportunity to stop people's bags just of what they did to me. And I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to let legal practitioners practice, right? You know, and lawyers are just going to be all over the place. And it had gotten to a point where it's time to freeze this person, you know, and all I've ever asked for is an apology, right? To say, just tell him to give me an apology, and that's all. And that's all. And I could have made money from it, you know, or at worst, I could have stopped your bag completely, you know, but just offer me an apology and, you know, let me know that that's not going to happen again, right?
Gotcha.
And then we can move on. So that's it for me. If anything is going to be fixed, you have to get to the point where it is genuine, and it's going to take some like real, not just talk but actions to say that okay, it's genuine. But other than that, I'm good with the apology. Do you understand? I do what I'm doing here, and you can do what you're doing there. There's no problem. I wasn't treated fairly. That's what I have to say. It did, and that's why I believe so much in God, right? Because sometimes I look at things and I'm like, what if this, and this don't happen? I'll be left in a position where I can't take care of my mom. You're not thinking of that, bro? Anybody here ain't thinking of that, bro? All right, fine. But, you know, I really trust in God's thing, right? And that has been my everything. And making the decisions that I made. You know, sometimes I saw somebody, and the person was saying stuff online, and I figured that, oh, this guy has made some money, so he can now talk reckless like this. Do you understand? Then I asked myself, are you sure that it's because you didn't make some money that you're now being reckless like this? Do you understand? And that's the self-awareness. And I told myself that somebody like me, I really want to make money and disappear. I don't want to be in anybody's face and everything. The more money I make, the more recluse I become. Basically.
That's smart.
Because when I don't have money, then I have to go out there to get it. But the more money I make, the more you don't see me around, the more you don't, you know, I don't engage in anything. So I'm not really going to be out here talking reckless to anybody. But you know who I am. Everybody knows who I am, right? If you, I'm outspoken. So if me and you, Steve, have a problem, and I'm at fault, I expect you to give me a call to say, yo, Q, you're moving like this, and it's not right. I expect that call. And if I don't get that call from you, it simply means that you don't feel a way about how I'm moving. Because how do you know that I know that I'm moving wrong?
I got you.
Right? So, and if I have a problem with you, you're going to get that call. But truthfully, if it's really terrible, if I work with Steve and Steve does something really terrible, right, I'm just going to walk away. I'm just going to keep quiet because I don't expect that. Do you understand? I'm just going to keep quiet and I'm just going to disappear, basically. And I'm just saying people should let me disappear. Because you know, there are all of these things, you know, and they start gassing people up in different places, and people should just let me disappear. I'm telling you, Steve, you know, let me just go, you know, because sometimes when things happen and you bring up stuff, a lot of people are going to be involved, right? And a lot of things are going to come up. A lot of things that people have forgotten is going to come up. You know, I know you don't like records like that where where everything gets really personal. You prefer where, you know, everybody's just about the bars and everything, but there's no way that it's beef that is not going to get personal, because it was every time there is beef is something personal that brought it. Right? It's not like, yo, this guy's bars are just terrible, so I'm gonna just attack him for his bars. If your bars are terrible, I don't care. Right? You can go ahead and be dropping it. Nobody cares about Soldier Boy. Sorry, I don't mean to say that Soldier Boy.
Oh, we're not dissing on Soldier Boy's internet. You're gonna get us canceled now, my guy.
Do you understand? Nobody really cares. Like, yo, keep doing your thing. Imagine getting in a beef with, I mean, Lil Uzi Vert is one of my favorite artists, but he's not up there with the bars. So imagine getting in a beef with Lil Uzi Vert. Do you understand? That's not just gonna, you know, but your bars are, you're making money. Go ahead, do your thing. Let the fans chew you apart when you drop music. Not me. It's none of my business. If I'm good over here, you know, but when people start to have a problem when they are not good over here, and some things are happening, you can't get into places because of this, and you can't do everything, and it becomes a really messy distance. So for me, it's just like, let me just, you know, do what I do and let me just disappear. You know, I'm in my disappearing phase. I'm really trying to just take things.
I want to ask you a very direct question about that then. What would make you happier? To just be left alone, to disappear, or to reconcile? What would make you happier?
I feel like the reconciliation is already done.
Okay.
Right? Because there's something about reconciliation is if you don't know that you've done this level of bad to somebody, and there's nothing I can tell you. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Like, I'll tell you when I do, not this one. This one you lost me a little bit.
Okay, so sometimes you can do stuff to me and you want to apologize in the way that, come on, man, I just fucked your bitch, Steve. Come on, man. You know, I'm not saying any of that, but just using that as an example, right? To just say that.
There's a wild way to find out, right? Like mid-interview, like, hey, I know you think you was talking about the album, but
I'm not saying
I've been smashing your bitch for like a month.
No, I'm not saying any of that happened. But imagine if, you know, come on, man, Steve, come, why are you acting out? I just fuck, yeah. You know, that simply means that I'm feeling like the level of stuff that I did is not, there's nothing that if you already feel like, I'm just going to look at you like, really? That's how you feel? Okay. Do you understand?
I do. I follow you now.
But that's the ego around everything. That's the pride. That's the I'm him. That's the, do you understand? Even in saying you did something wrong, there's going to be that I'm him moment there. Right? Then there's nothing I can say. I'm going to accept it. I'm just going to be like, okay, cool. Do you understand? And I'm just going to move. But there are real conversations in between just saying, yo, I'm sorry. There are real conversations. Because, you know, I mean, if you're going to say, why did you do that? Do you understand? Like, I need to know. These are things that people you would need to know so that you feel safe that these things don't occur again. Right.
I will say that of the people that I have interactions with, the two of you both display a very high emotional intelligence from what I can perceive on the side of the camera. So there's no doubt in my mind that should these scenarios come to, you know, having these conversations, that the ability to reach that kind of, you know, middle ground where real communicate or real conversations are happening. It's not like I said, like there are a lot of people who you wouldn't be able to have those conversations with. You would agree with that, right? Like not everybody is trying to better themselves. Not everybody is trying to grow as individuals and shit like that. Both of you, from my third party perspective on my side of the internet, both of you come across as very, very emotionally intelligent individuals. So from a fan perspective, I obviously, you know, you already said like should a track something like that come through, like you're there, like so on and so forth. I think we just want to see y'all happy, man. Like no one wins when the people that we look up to and the people that make the music that we love and shit like that aren't happy. Now, if you were over here like, yo, blah blah blah, fuck this person, like this track's coming in, like this is what I'm about. I'm a battle rapper.
I promise you, like I've not been in the better space in a really long time.
That's beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful.
And to say that I was happier when I was in any certain place is not true. Okay. Because apart from just there being a lot of work, you know, the red tapes, there was so much going on, you know, working in different spaces. I was just trying to build what I was trying to build, and I had people that I had to request or take permission from for certain things to happen, you know. But now I can just make any decision that I want to make and just move with it. All I'm just saying is that, look, man, it was a great time. It was a great phase. There is always space for that conversation. Like I said, I've repeatedly said it in different tracks. Not that and this might sound like a prideful moment, but not that I'm sitting back waiting for my phone to ring to be like, yo, let's talk about this. No, I'm not, you know, because you always need to be a man about your shit. I actually learned this from him. One day he called me and he said he was actually talking about himself, and he said, whatever I do, I make sure I'm a man first before anything else. But then it depends what being a man means to you. Do you understand? Right. For me, being a man means looking after, even if I have to stoop low for things to go, for things to happen. I say that a lot of people are not really great leaders, because when it comes to leadership, they always think about self first, you know, and they think that is how they can remain in a position where people will follow them, because they have to enrich themselves and they have to keep gathering. But me, I come from a space where I don't mind being your number two. Bro, in some shows, I got to open the door for black rooms. Some shows, I have to be part of people guiding him so that people don't take his chain and all of that.
Well, as we appreciate that on this side, my guy. I think I'm losing you real quick. But like while we wait for his connection to get back together, let it be very clear that I am the biggest Black Bones fan on this side of the fucking ocean. So salute
We're
to
having some connection issues now.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. You're back. You're back. You're back.
So wait, give me a sec. Let me I don't know if we can work this out later, but I think I have to plug my phone. Just plug it. His battery is a bit low.
Cool. I was just saying, I am a huge Black Bones fan, and
Yeah,
I sincerely, like, I don't even know if he knows I exist. I don't think he's ever even tweeted me before, but I bump his shit all the time. So from me and the people that I make listen to his music all the time, we appreciate you and anybody else involved and propelling, you know, the platform that he has to exercise his creativity. Huge fan of Black Bones on the side, man. So that's super dope. Getting situated.
we're good.
We're good. Yeah, everything looks good now. I think you just had like a 20-second glitch out. You're good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So is there any chance of a, like, how's everything with Loose Cannon? Is there any chance of a new Crowns coming out? Like, what is the situation with that?
So this is like my guy, right? But as much as people feel like I'm a problematic person, I actually like peace a lot, right? And when I came into the Chocolate City scenario, Luce and M had this bond, right? And at some point where I started feeling like I was getting in the way of that, you know, I just like, yo, it's like a bundle package. You can't, yeah. It's not an either or, you know. So I mean,
so
there's
that
room
would
for
be like
Crown
a
2. There's room for Crown 2. It's just that I don't want to be doing a lot of rapping right now. Because you know, I don't see the need to do a lot of rapping. I mean, even Luce will tell you, like, if you have a conversation with Luce, he'll tell you, like, then he'll say, I did so album, I put in so effort in this album, and this I get, it feels the checks coming from raps are too small, right? So you know, and not that I feel that way, because I'm not looking at making a lot of money off the kind of raps that I do. Trust me, the money that I make from the raps that I do is okay. It's okay for me, you know, as a person. But I'm not just looking to dwell on that income right now. I feel like I'm caught out for a lot more, especially us understanding where that kind of how that kind of music is weighted in Nigeria, you know, where it ranks, you know, it's really low, and I'm not prepared to be one chasing features, diluting the sound. Not that I have any problem with anybody doing that, but it's not just something I want to do, basically.
Fair enough.
It's not the expectations I have for myself.
So your position in music right now, specifically in Nigeria, there's a lot of people to look up to you. A lot of upcoming artists have you listed as like one of their favorites and shit like that. Do you see yourself moving into more of like an A&R type position? Like, now that you have people like artists who are like looking up to you, is there any young artists that you got your eye on where it's like, I'm betting that so and so is going to be fire? Like, do you see yourself moving into that type of a role, or does that not interest you?
I mean, yeah, at one point I reached out to Skinny.
Okay. Shout out to Skinny.
I reached out to a guy called BK. I mean, nobody would have heard of him. You know, I'm working with Lazy Ella right now. She's a female rapper, but she's like, you know, when they try to rap and it's not really doing what, it's not bringing Afrobeats, they tend to flip. And by the way, I've never I repeat, I have never tried to flip anybody. You know, they do it on their own. So, you know, she started off as a rapper, but now she's flipping her sound and everything. I've been doing the A&R services. You know, I've A&R'd a couple albums, but I, you know, just sitting at the back. I think it was last week that I saw one of the head of A&R in Chocolate City, and he said the amount of work that AQ put in the Young Preachers album, you know, and he tweeted that back in 2022 or so, 2023. Oh, sorry, 2022, yeah.
2022.
And yeah, and I just saw it and I just smiled because I just like being, you know, behind the scenes, doing my thing. I don't like the pressure of, you know, having to listen to people's expectations. So I think when people bring me in, they bring me in when they have a problem pushing the music to the point where it feels good to them, right? If you're talking about how the music will appeal to the fans, you might not want to bring me in there, right? But if you're looking for numbers, you might not want to bring me in there. But if you're looking for impact, to say, oh, when somebody hears this, it's going to be like, God damn, do you understand? That's where I come in, you know. So I've been doing the whole A&R thing. Trust me, I think I have like 3-4 businesses around the music business, you know, where we try to do stuff for some artists. So I reached out to Skinny, but he had something going on with some new guys. I think they have something new, which is great. And I reached out to a couple of guys. I wanted to start a hip-hop label, right? But I realized something while I was trying to do it, when I was talking to artists. I realized that even if I'm not trying to find another Black Bones, I'm trying to find somebody that can just leave that ego that hip-hop gives you. There is this ego that comes with just being a rapper, right? So if I jump on the phone with you and you're going to talk to me like you're a rapper, I'm not having that conversation, right? Like if I'm talking to you and I'm talking to you like you're a guy, you're a person, right? But you're going to use rapper slangs. You're going to, you know, everything about rap is you know.
Yep.
And there's no use because I know that that's going to affect everything, you know. So I found out that rappers can't and don't know how to. Do you understand? I remember having a conversation. Okay, I'm even going to say his name because he's cool with it actually. Because I talk to him, I say to him, you know, every time I have a conversation with Dabu, it feels like he wants to have me in a rap battle.
He probably does. That man is a pit bull. What do you think? Like that's his whole thing.
You understand what I'm saying?
I feel like every time I talk to him, he wants to rap battle me, dog.
So he can give me a compliment. I say, man, AQ, this line or something, that thing that you did, then he's just going to come back to say, but man, you know I can. I'm like, I'm trying to move something forward. Do you understand? I'm trying to move us forward, right? So
I'm gonna give you some pushback on this. Like he's like with him specifically, right? Like battle rappers are a different breed. Like I guarantee you, he don't mean it like that. Like you don't mean it to be off-putting or disrespect.
Yeah,
like,
but
our brains, dog.
I need people to understand that I'm trying to make battle rappers understand something. That thing that happens in America where they say battle rapper can't, right? It doesn't have to happen here. We don't have to carry that curse. We don't have to carry that curse and bring it here. right? That a bad rapper cannot excel in mainstream hip hop. We don't have to, right? And then the whole thing happened with Holyfield. Shout out to Holyfield. Like, I feel like Holyfield is that rapper, right? That rapper that can really make these commercial songs and still kill people on the battleground or in the battlefield, right? But I understand something, because with somebody like me, I like to ask very important questions, and it's the whole traumatic experiences of coming up by yourself, having to fend for yourself. You know, anybody coming close feels like, oh, what do you want from me, right? And I understand it, but I can't teach you how to remove your security, because you don't trust me. You don't trust anybody. So keep your security, but I hope you use it well. I pray you use it well. And I mean this in a good way, because that's what happened to me, right? I had all this, and people still see it when they try to approach me, because they've dealt with me in the past, and I had this force field, like, get off me, right? You can't get nothing off me, you know. But I hope you use it well, because it's my intentions to try to guide you on how to use it. But for me to guide you on how to use it, you have to bring it down. You have to soften up, and rappers don't want to soften up. You have to be vulnerable. To actually make the best records, you have to be vulnerable, right? But they don't. And, you know, Black Bones was the only person that, because when Black Bones started to come up, there were so many people in his ears, because I didn't have such a great reputation, and I don't think I still do in the music business. And there were so many people in his ears saying, man, leave this guy, right? Leave this guy. And it was like, yo, man, if you're not fucking with me because of this guy, man, I don't know what to tell you. You know, and we're still good. We're still good. You know, and he's
where
good.
where does this, like, I don't see it. So I hear it in the album, and I hear it talking to you, but I don't see it. Where's this hate coming from? Like, where are these conversations taking place? Because it's not on Twitter. It's not on anything that I can see.
Oh, it's happening on Twitter. Just don't shine any light on it. I'll tell you, I understand where it came from. Oh God, when I was younger, I was reckless, right? But a lot of it came from. Are we good? Are we good?
You're good now. Yeah, yeah. You like flashed for a second, but you're good.
Yeah. A lot of it came from me having to deal directly with people, right? And I understand that I was dealing with them as a rapper, because I was promoting myself. Then I didn't have no manager. I didn't have, you know, I had one publisher at that point where was, you know, pushing my stuff. Shout out to Drama, right? But I had to deal directly most of the time, you know. And I was dealing with people like, yo, you're gonna help me play my record, you know, talking like a rap, you know, working with that swag, you know. And then there's a lot of things around the music business that young artists don't understand, right? Sometimes I hear you and you say, man, you know that Philly rap, you know, simply means because of where you grew up, it impacts you differently,
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
So there is still that thing that if you don't have some of it, somebody that likes it is not going to really pay attention to you. And then you're going to wonder, like, but I'm better than these dudes. You know, that's one thing that a rapper should let go of, right? I'm better than these dudes. And then you can't comprehend, because why are you going to be fucking with these dudes, but you're not fucking with me, right? The answer to that is to tell him, fuck him. No, not directly. I can say that now because I don't give a shit about them. say it in your head like fuck you and go try somewhere else, or use the internet, do what you need to do. So a lot of it stemmed from dealing with people directly. Another thing is from the Nigerian mentality, right? I'll give you an example. When somebody put me on to you, I was like, the first thing I said was another culture vulture, right? I'm telling you facts, right? And it was like, no, listen to this guy, And I still didn't listen till I think one of my songs was revealed. You reacted to one of my songs, and somebody sent it to me, and I was like, okay, this guy is really going into things that I expect people here to do, like go into the bars and everything and break it down. And I opened my mind to it. And that's the friction I'm talking about. That because I'm just a rapper, I'm just going to look at it like, But there's this thing of worshiping elite stuff, right? Where somebody came from, what somebody is doing presently. There's that thing. And when Twitter just started popping, when all those opinions started coming out, the people that could be on that space for hours belong to a certain class of people, right? There is a way they wanted the artist to be, and they wanted the artist to sound and wanted to. And, I'm from that era where everything started. There's a level of success they want to see. There's and who is this? And to add to all of that, reckless. Who is this guy? So it's a lot of things. I mean, I was in a conversation recently and I was telling somebody that this guy that you're putting on or you're doing stuff with really wrecked my career. And he doesn't understand how, right? He was somebody that I battled when I was coming up, right? I wouldn't say battled for sure, for certain. Like, he kicked a verse that compelled me to kick a verse, and obviously my verse was better. And I feel like he felt it. And as at the time where all of these conversations were happening, they started a blog, right? And every time that blog mentioned me, and the blog was very interesting. It was a very interesting blog because it was the concept was somebody would say something and then there's a response and the other person will respond to that. And that's how they reviewed songs and they reviewed project. And the concept was amazing. And they always had bad stuff to say about me. And guess what? I never knew who they were because you don't see the faces of people, the people that were
blogs.
But guess what? I had battled two of them in the past. And from my side, from what I would say, I think I whooped their ass. I mean, they might say otherwise if they had this platform to come and defend themselves.
Right.
So I feel like it was because of that. It might not be true. Maybe I was really garbage back in the day, right? But I feel like that's why they had hate in their hearts for me. Do you understand? And
I do understand. Hold up. Let's circle back. Let's circle back. This is great. This is you doing this right after the Dabu comment. Just it makes sense. So let's talk about this real quick, right? The life of a battle rapper, and this is something I can speak very, very diligently about. I don't know if you know that or not, but I'm a battle rapper. I've been a battle rapper since I was 16 years old. All right, this is a life that I live and breathe. All right, not like brand new with this. If I'm looking at this from Dabu's point of view, you have these individuals who, number one, there is a built-in dichotomy of the industry that for some reason just places underground rap underneath commercial rap when it comes to viability, when it comes to making a livelihood.
An underground rapper, they look this once they hear that word underground or upcoming, Paul is next to it.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. But in battle rap specifically too, like even if you didn't say underground, if you just say battle rapper, the brain automatically does that.
Yeah.
in the battle rap community, like commercial rappers are usually looked down upon because it's believed that you guys have all the money, all the opportunity, all the resources, and just voluntarily are choosing not to share it and shed light on that. So there's automatically that us versus them. And that's where that mentality of like, yo, you might be selling more records, but if you get on that stage with me, none of that matters. Those sales can't help you when it's your bars versus
but if you
mine.
get on the record with me too, those skills will help.
Hold on. I'm not, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I will fuck somebody up on a fucking stage. You put me on the beat and I gotta learn how to clap on beat, or the weight comes out real quick and it sounds real bad, right? Like that's, I know my arena that I can play in. That's not one. I'm not hopping on a track with nobody, right? But with that being said, now you also have them growing up in this environment where you and I are buddy today. And if we're battling next week, all the nice things that I'm saying right now are going to get used against me as a weapon. Right.
Yeah.
And maybe not you. Maybe you and I are cool. But if I decide to go and battle somebody right now from word on the streets, you don't think I'm going to get a million, Steve's just out there sucking AQ's dick for interviews and blah, blah. Like all of that becomes ammunition. Like that's the world that someone like Dabu lives in. And he's damn good at it too. Like he thrives because he's part of that environment. Like I got nothing but respect for that man. And he's one of the cats that are going internationally to do so. He's not afraid to hop on a fucking bus or a plane and go to Ghana and some shit and mix it up. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say this. That same feeling that you have about how, hey, maybe when I beat these bloggers 10 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever it was, maybe they're holding on to that. And that's where that resentment comes from, right? These battle rappers, when you're talking about someone like them, they feel that way, whether it's right or wrong, about the successful commercial artist. Like they have that innately put in them. So I would petition, and I don't give a lot of pushback on a lot of things, but when it gets to battle rap, I get real fired up about it, right? I would petition you to, when dealing with that community, to just have a little empathy. Like put yourself in that position and understand that.
I've been in that position, right? That's what I'm saying. I've been in that position. And I'm telling you that
have you,
we're having this conversation,
have you though? Have you been in a league? Have you been on a stage? Have you had a reputation and win-loss streak that's being tracked battle after battle?
When I was battling, there was nothing like that.
Same. Like, that's what, so it's hard.
When I was battling, Tito Simos was like one of the best guys. There was a guy called T-Rex, guy's a monster. There was one other guy that had this smooth flow. Okay, there was Deja, yes, that's his name, Deja. And then there was Vector now came later, right? And it was from Vector that the stages and everything started happening. I didn't come into the game to be a battle rapper, right?
I get that.
I felt like, you know, for me to get where I'm going, it was a phase I needed to go through. So I wasn't aiming to be the #1 battle rapper. Actually, I really did not battle rappers, right? I was really going from house to house to battle regular rappers that said they were the shit.
Right.
Right. The battle rappers were my friends. I think the day that I tried to really battle the battle rapper, not that I tried, like I, you know, kicked one guy's ass, then he went to bring Deja. And I was about to go into the booth, and Deja had a few words to tell me. I can remember some of the lines that people have told me. Deja said, that time I had this afro, smack off your afro. He said something like that. One of the lines Tito Simos told me when we were battling, he said, AQ, is that Aqua Fresh, or is that African Queen or Aqua Fresh toothpaste? You know, that's how I started the bar. So I can remember some of the lines that these guys told me, and you know, I held my own. The truth is that this is how I used to battle rap, right? I used to do the cannabis route, right? So I'll have this 100 bars, 100 bars, 100 bars, and I memorize everything. And in between the 100 bars, I'll leave spaces for a 2-bar, 4-bar freestyle based on, you know, the environment around me, and I can make it look like a freestyle. Do you understand? But the truth is that I've never been a good freestyler. Do you understand? You see, people gas you up to do things, you know. I remember when I was in the US and everybody was, you know, everybody on my team, they were like, yo, Sway in the morning, Sway in the morning. You kill it, man. Go on Sway in the morning. And I could have easily gone on Sway in the morning. I had a contact that could have gotten me on Sway in the morning. But I told myself, like, if you don't prepare for this thing, you're going to fool yourself. Do you understand?
Thanks.
And shout out to, is his name Forza, the rapper that was battle rapping on, I saw a clip on the live event, right? He's a rapper. I can tell that he's a rapper. He's not a battle rapper, right? If you're going to go against somebody like Jay Pacino, right, you have to be, don't let people gas you into just, you know, going into stuff.
Into an early grave is what they're going to gas you into.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So I didn't use it. Like when that guy came, I battled Tito for 3 hours. And the reason
if you go back to I interviewed Tito, I'm pretty sure he recounted the stories for us. We got into a bunch of these stories when I interviewed Timo.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
Hit me up. Hit me up. If you're going, so the Tito, I feel like I lost that battle. I didn't lose that battle, but I'll tell you why I always give it to Tito. So the owner of the studio was getting tired because we're just going back to back. And it said, you kick a verse, the best verse wins, right? And I kicked this verse where I had this, there was a verse that I liked so much from Nas where he juxtaposed his style or equated his style to a 6 by something jail cell, and that, so I wrote my version of that, and it was a permanent tattoo that I used. It was like, I'm a permanent tattoo on your body. Let me expatiate that I do this. No matter how you try to wash me off, I'm still there. Do you understand? All those kind of lines, watching your moves, I'm there when you're, So I kicked that. That was like my golden verse. And I kicked that verse. And Tito kicked a verse that was really hard. I didn't feel like it was harder. It was as hard as my verse. I didn't feel like that. But I was like, shit, there was something that you said that I didn't really get. Can you? And the guy looked at me like, it was a freestyle. I can't remember it was a freestyle. I was like, damn. I had to give him the battle.
I feel you.
Because they're telling you to kick your best verse and you came up with that level of bars with a freestyle. It's one thing to talk about things around you, but it's another thing to go into, different areas, in the world and tundras and everything with a freestyle. That's a different level, So I just felt like, man, this guy is different, right? And I just
shout out to Tito Simos.
Yeah, in my head, I'm just like.
But you're proving you're agreeing with me. You sounded like you were disagreeing with me, but you're agreeing with me. My point is that you are not and never have been in the environment that these cats are in today.
Yes, I'm totally agreeing with you, but I've had the experience, right?
No,
and
you can't say that, bro. It's not the same. It's like, look, I'll give you an example. That's like me saying I'm in Philly and Philly's bad, so I know what the Lagos experience is because y'all have it bad too. And it's just
you have an idea. Well, you have an idea.
You have an idea. You have an idea, but it's not the same. It's not.
Yes,
it's not.
I know that it's not the same. But Steve, this part is very important.
Okay.
Right? If you're going to keep up that appearance and that character, just be prepared to be a battle rapper for the rest of your life.
You're absolutely right. No. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that it's going to get you further in business. None of that. My whole point is, the whole reason I'm saying this is because I love your music. I love what you do. I love Dabu. I love what he does. I would hate to see that barrier be the reason that nothing comes to fruition there, because I know that everything that you were just talking about, like the way that he's acting about certain, and the way that he's like, that's how we show love though, dog. Like that's not any kind of disrespect when you have a battle rapper.
I met him recently and he's really changed, man. He spoke to me about, I don't even know if I should say this, but he spoke to me about his dad, and he's slimmer than he used to be. He's really the only thing is that I'm not just in this for now. I'm not in a space of I'm trying my best not for people not to look at me like I'm competing with something. I'm
I got you.
trying my best. Do you understand? And it's unfortunate, but that is what social media has become, right? Whether you have real intentions or not, they're going to look at it how it looks like. And one thing that I got to understand is that I understand social media, right? I know what to ignore. I know what to put my energy behind. Do you understand? And I understand social media a great deal. I actually give lessons in promotion on social media to upcoming artists. So I really understand social media. So I don't want somebody to feel like, oh, he's trying to take somebody or trying to take something, from us, or he's bringing up something else to compete or to distract or to. I don't play like that, right? If I feel somebody has something under control, right, and it's looking good, I leave it, right? Because everybody feels good about it and it's going somewhere. I leave it, right? And I figure out something else. That has always been me. Like when they try to, I said it in one of the lyrics, like every time they block, I get a bypass, I find a bypass, right? So my whole career has been building alternate universes. When everybody feels like this is it, I just go and do something else, right? And move with that, right? So I've never, unless I'm intentionally doing it, and that's not a space I wanted to be in, to say, okay, oh, these guys are going to do this cypher and not put me on, so I'm going to create this cypher, But all that energy, I'm not with that energy anymore, right? I'm just going to do my stuff, and just keep it moving, and respect what everybody else is doing, and not clash with what they are doing, except I absolutely have to.
So we're circling back to the album now, because I had a section about this that I was curious about.
Yeah, you got excited about battle rap.
Yeah. Well, I get fired up. I'm sorry about that. I'm as soon as that comes into play, my focus goes way into battle rap zone. You mentioned Fuck Hennessy pretty explicitly and directly on the album. Was that did that stem from not being on that cipher, or like that? Like what?
So I don't want to give a politically correct answer. I want to give what it is. But really, this is from everything I've been talking about. There are a bunch of people that feel like they're gatekeepers, right? Because they have access to funds that is not theirs. I repeat, it's not theirs. It's not theirs. It's not their families. Do you understand? It's a brand. It's brand money, right? But you're going to be so unprofessional about it, right? So you're going to handpick. You're going to, oh, this guy is not cool with us. This guy is cool with us. And that's the height of just being unprofessional.
We're gonna wait and see if we can get him back. This is probably my fault. I shouldn't have egged him on with the label conversation, but it is interesting how that ties in to the entire docu-series that we had done before. It is a beautiful opportunity to hear it from somebody who's given us firsthand experience, because at the end of the day, as much as I'm here to like help be a voice and be a platform where people can tell their stories and everything like that, it's infinitely, like, my opinion means nothing as someone who's not directly involved with it, and it is infinitely refreshing, you know what I'm saying, to actually hear from somebody who's living it from both sides. It sounds like too, like he's been on the I'm gonna write the contract, sign the contract side, and he's signed his own as well. Looks like we lost him. I'm gonna pause this now. We'll see if he ends up coming back in. But I do think that it's an interesting. I don't know. It's a blessing to be in a position where we get to hear it from both sides. I do recognize that my side is trying to justify the corporate America mentality. It is what it is. I've been in business my entire life. I'll never defend the ethicalness of it, but the legality of it, like these conversations are good, not to try and present it as being something that is good or correct or done fairly, like he was saying. But these conversations are at least good to have, to know what kind of like if you're watching this as an artist, like what kind of questions should you be prompting into these contract conversations? What type of scenarios have other people gotten stuck on in the past that I can learn from and grow from and stuff like that? So hopefully you took something out of this. Just in case he's not able to get back on, we may have to end the interview at this time. So I'm going to pause it here. We may pick up, we may not. If we don't get a chance to pick back up, I just want to say I love y'all for tapping in. I appreciate y'all. Go spin God's Engineering 2 again. Let me know if you guys got a different view on anything, a different take from anything or anything like that. And as always, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I will catch y'all on the next one. Let's go. Hopefully he comes back.